Hi, my name is Samuel James Price. I'm known as the Crypto Lifer, and I go live every single day, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Monday through Friday, and Saturday and Sunday nights at 8 p.m. But every single Friday, I like to give you guys a look at the market on a macro scale. I like to zoom out, give you Bitcoin, the DXY, the S&P futures, the NASDAQ, and just take a look at the weekly charts and take a look at the macro ideas. We're not going to zoom into anything lower than the weekly. This is your Friday macro analysis. So let's take a look. Friday, we boomed beautifully off this level. We all know that 25,225,000 is a great level for Bitcoin. We can see where these candles closed and wicked at about 31,800. A lot of people are eyeing 31,800. We also have a CME gap, which I will show you right now, BTC USD. Type it in and hit the CME chart. And this is going to have a gap. If we go back to the 4-hour, it's easy to see here. Right there at about 29,800. There's a chance we do wick down to that gap. You can see a bit of a shoulder, head, and a shoulder there. Doesn't look absolutely amazing. A smooth move up usually means we can get a smooth move down. So something to think about. Do we go back down to these areas? I have limit orders set all around the CME gap because you never know. Just something I wanted to talk about right there. But Bitcoin, weekly candle looks strong. It will close very, very, strong if it closes here on the week. This is in 2 days and 5 hours, we will get the weekly close. So all we really need to see is if we can bounce off of 31.8 and continue, or if we get a smaller pullback on a smaller time frame. But right now, the weekly looks great. Also, if I use the moving averages, we boomed up across the 200 SMA. That was the level I was telling everyone, if we got above the 200 SMA, we were likely going to moon, and then we got above resistance. I also saw a hidden bullish divergence on the 3-day chart. I know I said I will only look at the weekly, but this gave me the secret sauce to what was going to happen. I was able to point this out in late August like 23rd, 26th, and I would talk about it every single day, and eventually we would make the high above the high from the hidden bullish divergence that I would talk about over and over again. So join me, take my class. I teach class tomorrow, every Saturday, or the last Saturday of every month. Jump on in today if you want class. You can learn this stuff and know where the price was going to go before it even happened based on hidden bullish divergence. I was able to see that and lead my entire trading group to glory. It was awesome. We weren't shorting. We were heavily long as this continued to pump to the upside. Moving averages also getting tight and close together. That's a good sign. The 50 eventually is going to cross that 200 SMA. And when you get a golden cross on the weekly, the last time we even came close to it was right around here. I'm telling you, it's the beginning of a bull run. So if we can get this 50 to cross the 200 SMA, we'll likely already be somewhere into the 40,000 region at that point. Also, when I look at the VRVP, it tends to move like a ball bouncing down a hill. And you can see, once you move above the high liquidity zone, you fall all the way. And it says we can get to 39, then to 47, and even to 57, and it doesn't look like it's going to be that hard. Not a lot of resistance. So I'm more bullish for Bitcoin than bearish for sure. The fact that we broke this level, ETF approval, the halving coming, a lot is going on. People are going to start, buying up every dip they can. So I'm looking at it on the daily, which is, I said I wouldn't, but I wanted to show you just some things. I'm looking for the daily to come down a little bit here, touch this 21-day moving average, and then continue its onslaught to the upside. So something like that, and it could even be more sideways, but we're looking for something like this. If an ETF gets approved, you never know. It could even just start to shoot up immediately. We have a golden cross coming on the daily, which is preemptive, telling me that something is brewing, and we are going to get a pretty big move in the next 2 weeks. We may get a small pullback in the next 3 to 5, 6 days, something like that. But 2-3 weeks from now, I don't see how Bitcoin isn't higher than it is already. So that's my Bitcoin kind of long-term analysis. I'm seeing some things brewing. That golden cross on the daily is looking good. And then we're preemptively getting ready for a golden cross on the weekly. That will take probably 5 to 6 weeks, in my opinion, for it to eventually occur. But Bitcoin, I'm looking pretty bullish on the macro scale. We look at the dollar, and the weekly on the dollar is overbought. Stochastic super high, RSI getting high. We came from a bearish divergence up here and fell to the downside. We did get a little bit of bullish divvy here, though, and we did get a bounce back to the upside on the weekly. Resistance for it is now at 107. You can see, right, we wicked to it, but it's really 106. 106.96, 107. I would like to see the weekly at least pull back to the 21-day moving average here, find some type of pullback, and then it could continue to the upside. But I want to see a little pullback for the next 5 to 6 weeks. That could be Bitcoin's push up to the upside. So I'm looking for this weekly to come back down, retest, and come down to this 21-day moving average, maybe test the 104 area, even as low as 103.80. And that looks highly likely. The 50 crossing the 21 is a bearish sign. And then eventually you're going to see the 50 cross. What it looks to me is when Bitcoin finally gets its golden cross, this is going to be getting its death cross. And hopefully it's an M pattern here. It'll break down, then break up, make an M, and then start to dump. and the dollar will kind of start to fall as Bitcoin moons to the upside. But I do see the dollar struggling at this, it's very overbought, and I see a pullback coming to the 21-day moving average. The S&P futures I've seen in a beautiful cup and handle. If the dollar's going to dump, prices for stocks are going to go up in value, right? So the S&P still had a little bit of a sell-off today, and they are still selling it off pretty nicely. However, I pull a fib, and I'm still waiting. We may come into the golden pocket or even into the platinum pocket here at 786 and get that bounce down. I'm looking for maybe a bounce off the 200 SMA, but there's a chance that we continue to hold this level. So I opened this up a little bit, but regardless of how far we go down, I see a bullish divergence bounce. The weekly on the S&P suggests that we are going to get a bounce. It's pretty extended on the selling pressure, and as long as we keep a higher low, low, high, a higher low, even if we get to as low as 38.76, I do see a recovery. They're going to get everyone in fear. They're going to push retail to sell. I can feel them building the fear. When they do that, it's likely we get a reversal to the upside. We got a reversal last October. We're just waiting on that last push up for the reversal back to the upside again. I do see bullishness for the S&P when push comes to shove. And last but not least, the NQ, right? The nasty Nas, people trading that NASDAQ. And again, I see the NASDAQ making a beautiful bullish divvy here, making that secondary higher low. I wouldn't be surprised if it uses the 4-hour for its catalyst back to the upside, looking just like the S&P, very similar. If I look at it on like the 5-day and I go out to this weekly chart, I see us in, a big cup and handle. Now, again, we're getting low, but this is the end of the channel. I suggest to bounce back up. They're creating a lot of fear on the markets, but if you look at the chart, the weekly suggests that we're going to get a push to the upside. So even a little bit of hidden bullish divergence as this swings up while this swings down tells me that the trend's going to continue to the upside. We may come lower and touch the trend line. I wouldn't be surprised. We could come to 12. They could call, we go to 12, they're going to say the market's over, we're dumping, and I'm going to be just waiting on that reversal. But it looks like we may not even get that low. But again, low, high, as long as you put in a lower high in the weekly. So even though everyone's bearish in TradFi and they're telling us that we're going into a recession and we're going to dump and M2 money supplies, the charts are telling me that maybe a slight more pullback, but there's going to be a pump for the S&P and the NASDAQ. So this is your and a dump for the dollar. So when I look out and I zoom out on the macro time frames on the weekly, the Bitcoin looks great. Small pullback on maybe the daily and the 12-hour, 22 area, 4-hour. But I see a continuation move here really on the weekly and the bigger time frames. I see the dollar pulling back, and I see the S&P and the NASDAQ both in cup and handles, ready to kind of make a bigger move on a higher low. So don't fall into the trap of listening to the news. They're going to get everybody bearish. They're going to make you full of fear. Stick with the charts. I'm telling you, when I stick with the charts, I end up getting great results. So get away from the emotions. Stick to the charts. If you don't know the charts, get the education you deserve. In my Discord, you can have access to what people are charging $2,000 in a course, and it's all free there for you for $99 a month. Plus, you have me there all the time, people to help you, a learning library, and even more. It'll blow your mind. You can jump into my server for free in the link down here and join with the watch first. See what we have to offer before you even jump on in. Read the testimonials. Get to know it. You jump into my Discord. Look at the gains we're making every day. Read the testimonials. Hit the watch first. We even have some free guides for you to get you started. So I can't wait to see you in there, everybody. Thank you so much for giving me the time to watch this macro analysis. We'll do this every single week on Friday for you, and we greatly appreciate you sitting down and taking a look at this. And it can keep you ahead of the herd. I'm telling you right now, I called this bottom in the S&P last October when everyone was bearish. We've been reversing ever since. I'll see you at the next Friday Macro Outlook video.